there was a bunch of knocking on the door, beating on the door.
Mm-hmm.
I look out the window. It was one of those hotels where you go out the door and you're outside already.
Sure.
Which I refuse to ever stay in one of those to this day.
Yeah.
So I look out the window. It's 5 grown men in street clothes. They have jeans, white t-shirts, cross necklaces, but they have guns. And they're saying they're the police. So I'm like, you guys are not the police. You do not look like the police. What is going on?
So where we are right now is you are evicted. You're staying in extended stay hotels. Your car got repossessed. And where from here?
I mean, so obviously if there's no car, there's no house, I'm walking. There were days where I am walking with just a book bag, on my back. And, there were times where I didn't know even how I was going to pay for the hotel. The boyfriend was in and out, and it was probably these days that I'm talking about right now, probably the darkest
I bet.
days. Probably definitely the scariest. And what's crazy is, all the clubs and, making all this money at one point in your life and knowing all these people to having nothing. That same extended stay, those same streets are the same streets that I would look every time I would walk down Piedmont Road, I would look so far down at the ground because I was so afraid if I looked up, somebody would recognize me and they would see me and they would see right through me. And I would
Because they would have.
They would have.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like a shell of a woman, with nothing to say for myself. And but I was pretty much in survival mode at that time. There were actual nights where I slept in a 24-hour laundromat. I would try to do whatever I could. I experienced hunger pains. You get hungry, okay, but then you get another level of hungry that that sets in. And I just remember telling him I pretty much let go of the whole God idea a long time ago, but I would find myself just kind of calling out just in case you're there, just because you're afraid. And so it was, there was a area, North Avenue and Boulevard. That's an area that no female should ever walk, by herself. And
so we're from Buckhead, Piedmont Road, all the way down to North Avenue to downtown, really.
Well, it's really if you just kept going down Piedmont, you kind of hit Monroe, and
that's right,
somewhere right there,
right
there.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it wasn't all the way downtown, but yeah. So I remember just stealing my food, not thinking about it. I was like, I don't care what happens to me. I'm not gonna just die. I'm not just gonna roll over and die. I'm not gonna just do that. And that has always been a part of me. And so I recognize that now as resilience, because I've had to, do that a lot in my life. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up just running into some people that seemed to be living a little bit better than I did. That was it. These people, they were selling drugs. They were selling drugs on a much larger scale than I had really ever, been on.
How'd you meet them?
They were there with friends that were at this hotel.
Okay.
This particular hotel is completely shut down now. Thank God.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, so they just seemed to be living a little bit better than me. And honestly, anything was better than the way I was living.
Sure.
I had detoxed off of Roxy's, but I was still regularly using here and there. Like I said, I call it a prison I created for myself, and so what used to be fun was not fun anymore, and you just want to be normal so bad. So anyway, these people, I joined them. I pretty much started riding around with them, started doing the things they were doing, and before I knew it, it was I had clothes on my back, I had a roof over my head, I had, had a little bit of money, and then I had this false sense of power. I went from the person that needed everything, necessity-wise, to the point that I was stealing everything, to now people need me for something.
That's right.
So it was this weird shift mentally, people need me now. And it was all so stupid. It was this false sense of power. But my necessities were being met. So in a weird way, you start to think that you're this close to getting out of this. I've pulled myself out of it this far. Let me just keep on going. But what happened is I basically inserted myself into the most dangerous situation I could possibly do. These people, they robbed people. I always had guns on me, just because.
Sounds like a dangerous environment.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy when I look back on it now, but you kind of get used to fear when you're out there. You just kind of get used to it and you don't recognize the danger. But this went on, and I was, doing my fair share of selling drugs and, feeling like I was at least being productive in that way. And it's so crazy to even say it today. But that all came to a standstill about a year later. So I was pretty much doing this for about a year.
Okay.
And
still in hotels?
Still in hotels, but there was a lot of traveling involved, a lot of moving, a lot of drugs and things like that. But I did not have a set home. So I'm living out of suitcases and stuff stashed at different places and stuff like that. So there was no stable environment. And I definitely think that's needed. And, I kept thinking,
Yeah.
I still didn't have a car either. So anywhere I went, I was just with them.
Riding with somebody, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't have really any sense of independency at all. And you really need a stable place to even find employment. And I definitely didn't really think about that back then. But it all came to a standstill. I was in a hotel. And all I know is there was a bunch of knocking on the door, beating on the door. Mm-hmm. I look out the window. It was one of those hotels where you go out the door and you're outside already.
Sure.
Which I refuse to ever stay in one of those to this day.
Yeah.
So I look out the window. It's 5 grown men in street clothes. They have jeans, white T-shirts, cross necklaces, but they have guns. And they're saying they're the police. So I'm like, you guys are not the police. You do not look like the police. What is going on? And, the people that I'm with, they rob people all the time. So I'm thinking I'm just about to get robbed, and kind of said, if you're the police, then you can let yourself in. I'm not opening the door for you. And so I sat on the bed, and I watched that door come at me 3D. They used a battering ram, and that door just came down, and I was tackled by 5 grown men.
I've
never, and I'm a strung out, malnourished, just gross, in bad shape, definitely not trying to put up a fight with anybody. Right. That's not who I am.
Yeah, 100-pounder.
I'll sit there and fight.
That's
know? So I got tackled. They tackled me to the ground. It was hardwood floors.
Were you by yourself?
I was by myself inside this room.
Interesting.
They had been surveillancing the room for 12 hours. They were looking for this guy who they got, 30 minutes before, but I didn't know that. And then they were also looking to serve a warrant for another woman. And they thought that I was her. I wasn't her. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm about to get out of this. I'm not her. I am.
But there's drugs there.
I'm homeless and I'm waiting on a ride, and that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Right.
And so when they tackled me, it was hardwood floors. And I just will never forget that because they actually dislocated my shoulder when they tackled me. So the only thing coming out of my mouth is just crying, and they called the ambulance. It's so funny that this whole experience, that little part of the narrative is not even in there. So it's funny. Just the aggression that they took. But in the room, it looks like a normal hotel room. There's a movie on, takeout food, an acoustic guitar laying there, clothes on the hangers. There's not drugs. It's not like you busted down the door
messy.
And you see drugs laying out. The only thing that did stand out was there was 3 large safes, the size of the hotel safes. So imagine 3 of those. So they took those safes. They just started banging them open on the sidewalk outside, and just drugs were just falling out. And
did you know they were in there?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Out of there was 3 large safes and 1 small safe. The 1 small safe was mine. The 3 larger safes was my co-defendants. And so anyway, they ended up finding guns in the drawers. But the one thing that they found last, this is when I knew that it was over, because I'm running my mouth the whole time thinking I'm about to get out of this and talking about how I'm going into the Air Force, which was a dream of mine at one point. And anyway, they didn't care.
They didn't buy it, did they?
They didn't care what I was saying.
Yeah, they didn't buy it.
So they were kind of let down when I wasn't the girl they thought I was. But, anyway, they started, they looked underneath the bed, and they pulled out an SKS AK-47 with 9 banana clip rounds of ammo. And it was, they looked at me and they were like, ma'am, you could have taken our entire team out with this. And I'm like, does it look like I would do something like that? Come on, you know? And so that's when I knew I was definitely going to jail for the first time in my life. And so here I went from fighting for my life.
So you never had been to jail?
I'd never been in trouble. Like, I had done a lot of things
right
to be in trouble. That day, I went from 0 to 8 felonies, just like that.
I bet. Yeah.
And yep, I went from fighting for my life kind of on the streets and through drugs to fighting for my life in the criminal justice system.
So when the gavel fell, how much time did you get?
Well, the gavel didn't fall for 16 months as I fought my case.
Okay, but you stayed in jail.
So I did 60,
you bond out?
60 days, I got a $50,000 bond.
Who did the bond for you?
So I had people that owed me money, my grandparents and my dad, and then an ex put forth like a little bit. So it was like $5,000.
Okay.
But the part of my story is I got out I had really strict bond orders. Within 10 days, I messed up my bond order, had a warrant for my arrest.
How'd you mess it up?
You were supposed to be in a halfway or some program.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I never heard of that before. Within 48 hours.
Well, I wouldn't think that if you had never been in trouble before. Like they do that sometimes, but you'd never been in trouble. So
yeah, but they looked at it like you're getting out and you need to be lucky and you need to follow the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I had never had to follow any legal rules before, but I was also like, pretty green to a lot of it and still very much doing my own thing.
So you went back to jail immediately. They pulled your bond.
No.
Okay.
So I went through I messed it up, pretty carelessly. And then I did 60 days and then I was out for 60 days. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if I messed it up within 10 days, I had a couple months there, a little less than 2 months of me being on the run is what they call it. I was pretty delusional, I was facing like 20 something years with this trafficking heroin charge alone. And so my mentality was, let me get back with the boyfriend, let me get a house, let me get off drugs, let me do all this stuff on my own, and I'll worry about my case later.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No.
So anyway, during this time though, I had reached out for some support, and believe it or not, I reached out to my mom. And the reason why is because I felt like, I'd pretty much shamed the entire family. I'm the only person who'd been locked up ever in my entire life. And but I reached out to her because she knew what it felt like to fall and have to get back up again.
Now, during this whole time, were you in contact with your sisters at all? Or did you just not talk to them?
So I distanced myself. I never brought any of this, I guess what they call a secret life, to their doorstep.
Which it was secret to them.
And so the only thing that really impacted them was their emotions, like losing sleep at night, not knowing where I was. They knew I was messed up on drugs, but honestly, they didn't know everything I was involved in until they saw that these weren't just DUI charges. These are like, these are multiple drug trafficking charges and this and that. And that looked really bad on paper. And it sounded even worse trying to explain myself. But anyway, luckily, no, like it never really brought anything to the doorstep. But my dad was in a couple dangerous situations trying to retrieve belongings of mine. But anyway, during this time, I had reached out to my mom and I was like trying to get support. And she didn't judge me too bad. She knew I was on the run, but she honestly didn't really know what all that was about. And so I'm really grateful for this time of my life because on my birthday, which is December 29th, so I was out, I was on the run. I was trying to work. I got a job at a gym, trying to sell memberships, trying to make myself useful. She called to tell me happy birthday, and, it was the greatest phone call I ever had. And this is probably the turning point. This is why it's important that I share this.
Right.
So everything was fine, and she was talking about how we're going to walk out of that courtroom with your head held high, and we're going to make it. And it was just like this unbelievable, conversation. And I wanted to make her proud, so I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to go try to make some more sales today. It's my birthday, but I'm still going to work. There's nobody in the gym, around Christmas time, but I didn't care. And so anyway, I was just, I remember getting off the phone and I heard a little bit of hesitation in her voice, but I was like, I'll call you when I get back, and I remember hanging up and I told my coworker, I was like, man, that was the greatest phone call I ever had with my mom. Who would have thought? We had such a hard upbringing. So this meant a lot to me. But 3 hours later, I tried to call, and I would got a phone. I had just got a throwaway phone, like the little
burners.
Burners. So that just showed I'd only had the phone number for 2 days, so nobody had a way to reach me. And my mom had actually helped me get it, but luckily she had given one of my sisters the number. And so anyway, I get a phone call, and it's my older sister, and she says, "We're going to Mom's house right now." And I was like, "What? Why?" And apparently my mom had wrote something weird on Facebook, and it was kind of jumbled, didn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, it was like saying pretty much goodbye. And I was like, whatever, like we just had the greatest phone call ever. She's fine, or she just wants attention. Once again, no capacity for mental health whatsoever. And anyway, then I got the next call, and it was probably the I lost it. Hardest phone calls ever. But my mom had gone outside of her apartment, and she shot herself. And so that great phone call that I had from her was actually because it was the last phone call I ever had. And I mean, the ground was shaking. 2 + 2 was 5. Nothing made sense. I was all over the place. And, I had been sober for maybe a month and a half. I was trying to do right. And, I remember, just losing it, and did the only thing that I ever knew how to do in my entire life. And that was to go use just to try to numb whatever's happening, because I can't take it. And rightfully so, right? But it was my birthday. So it was like, happy birthday to me. Like, is this my fault? So of course I took ownership like it was my fault. Like I shamed the family, Mom blew her brains out. Anyway, I end up going straight to using. I should have died that night about as much drugs I put in my system, but I couldn't feel anything. I never felt a thing. Anyway, I get to the funeral like a week later. I was able to do all these things. But then a week after that, I ended up getting picked up by the police because I was on the run. I was stealing food at Walmart, 4:00 in the morning. At that time, I felt like the world had taken everything from me, so I'm taking whatever I need to. Just stupid. But I also look at that like, whatever's greater than me, God, the universe, said, this is it. Like, you're not going to have to go through this anymore. And so that night, even though I was arrested and put into a jail cell that night, like, that was it. That was the last night. And so when I went in, it was January 17th, 2013. And, suicide is one of the things where you have the most questions about.
Of course.
Right? And a lot of them you can't get answers for, but there is still lots that you can. And so just being distant and everything like that from my family and set apart and in a jail cell, that alone is traumatizing. But I pretty much entered the criminal justice system in a very traumatized place. So today I get to talk about, trauma-informed responses and training and all these things. So, but
who better to teach it?
Yeah. So that's how I entered it. And I was broken, man. I remember thinking, in jail you have like these mirrors, and they're not even like clear. They're like pieces of aluminum, and you're just trying to see yourself. But I just remember, like, for what I could see, I didn't even know who that was when I looked at the
What jail were you at?
DeKalb County Jail.
Okay.
God bless America. So I remember just feeling like you can only imagine that you would feel like an absolute mistake, and just grieving. And I didn't care about my sentence. I didn't care about anything. I cared about my mom and that she was gone and all of that. And so it was a pretty powerless state, but that night I just remember having a breaking point. I remember usually when it's cold outside, it's cold inside your jail cell too, and you're just trying to put on everything you have just to stay warm. But I was just so hot from like crying. It was not a good moment at all, not a pretty one, that's for sure. But I just was trying to breathe. I was just trying to catch my breath. You feel like the walls are caving in. Type of course,
I'm sure.
And I just remember having this breaking point, like, you know what? You're allowed to break now. Like it was like I was the only person I had been fighting my whole life was really me.
Right.
And it never had felt more clear. And so,
So right then and there you made a decision.
Yeah, I said, and I also said, and if I wanted to, I never wanted anybody to feel the pain that I was feeling. And so I was like, well, if I want other people not to feel this pain, and I want other people not to give up, because I just couldn't wrap my head around how my mom could just give up. Like how? And of course, that's the only way I looked at it at that time. And so I'm sitting here thinking, if I want other people to not give up, then guess what? I have to make sure that I don't give up first.
That's right.
And I've got a whole hell of a journey right now facing this court system and all of this stuff right now. I have no idea. They're talking about 20 years of my life. There goes having kids. There goes dreams. There goes all kinds of stuff. And so I said, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I can't do this by myself. And that, up until that point, was my attitude. Like, I never wanted help. Had that pride. Don't you dare feel sorry for me.
Right.
You know, and I got this. I could do it on my own. I'll figure it out. You know, that was my mentality. And so that part of me had to break too, because I didn't know if I was going to find the help inside of a county jail. But I knew that I couldn't do this alone. So whether it was God or whether it was just somebody else or something. And so I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter that night. And I didn't hear anything back from that letter for like 2 months. So I pretty much thought it got lost. But it was a letter to be in a program that was kind of like a substance drug program for 90 days. It was called the START program. I just heard the girls talking about how it was being offered there. You have to be mandated by a judge to be in it. So my letter was like, my charges are too bad to be mandated to this program. So let me just see if they'll accept me as a volunteer. That way I can do something with my day. And so anyway, I ended up getting accepted into that program as a volunteer. The first volunteer.
There's your olive branch right there, right?
The first volunteer in this program ever. Anyway, so I fought my case for 16 months. I'm in this program. I'm really digging deep. And I'm like, why was I partying? Like, why was I doing all these things? You know, maybe I actually had some trauma, or maybe I actually experienced some sort of other mental health challenges during that time. And I kind of was able to get off my own back once I gained some understanding and knowledge. And you can't really forgive yourself until you get off your own back anyway. And so I had this mentality, like, you know, I haven't done anything I'm proud of in life. And I don't give a damn if this is a jailhouse program. I need to prove to myself that I can do something.
That's right. Accomplish it.
Yeah. And so I made a commitment to myself that I wasn't just going to do it. I'm just going to give 110%. So you want a sentence answer, I'm giving you a paragraph. I'm going to go all out with this. And I got to do this program 3 times. The third time, the instructor knew what he was doing, and he said, if you're going to do this, then you have to do me a favor. I was like, okay. You know, I wanted to stay in it. You know, I didn't want to go back to
prison, no.
General population.
That's right.
And so basically he said, you need to tutor this woman right here. She's completely illiterate. She's 66 years old. She's been on crack cocaine her entire life. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know how to relate to this person, you know? But I started helping her do her homework and do this, and helped her write her letters. I mean, I had never in my life helped anybody like with their handwriting. So I started to do these things, and I realized we're wearing the same orange jumpsuit. We couldn't be from 2 different worlds, more different worlds. And here we are, I'm like being of service to this person, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like I was doing the first form of peer support that I didn't even know that that's what it was called. But it was the first time in my life I ever was of service to anybody. So I don't know if it did anything to that woman or not, but it actually started to shift something inside my heart. And that's really where that passion was born. 16 months into it, the judge said, my co-defendant, who is an awesome person, and I'm so freaking proud of him, man.
Right.
He is like killing it out there. 6 figures, house, about to get married, everything. But back then he stood up in the court system, and he said, you know, to the judge, he's like, you know, I had everything to do with this. She had nothing to do with it. And he was waiting to get the best plea possible for him. So people don't always do that.
No, they do not.
He had children.
No, they do not.
He had reasons to not do it.
Right.
I was the only person in the room, so technically he could have really, really like completely altered my entire future. But he did the right thing, and so the judge looked at all 8 charges, and she dismisses 6 out of the 8. She should have done all of them, but we're not even going to go there. I hope to be able to share my accomplishments with the judge one day, but we'll see.
Write her a letter.
Well, I've tried.
Have you?
Yeah, we won't even go down that hole today. Anyway, so I'm still charged with the 2 controlled substance charges, which was the lesser out of the 8 charges, and I was sentenced to a program called RSAT, which is at Lee Arundel State Prison. And to answer your question as far as how much time did I do, so 16 months waiting to be sentenced. I waited for a bed in that program to become available for 8.5 more months. So we're looking at 24 months inside county jail.
But you got 2 years, so you never had to go to prison.
So the program is at prison. So I had said once I got to prison, Lee Arundel State Prison, it's just a separate dorm. It's separate from
In
general
DeKalb.
So I was in DeKalb for 24 months, and then I went to Lee Arundel State Prison.
Where is that at?
It's in Alto, Georgia.
Okay.
So up north, about an hour and 15 minutes.
From like close to South Carolina, right?
Go up 985.
Yeah.
And so it's a little kind of close. But so that's where I lived and stayed, and you're in this program, and there's like 400 rules, I promise you, 400 rules. And I was like, and like each inmate is
you better know every one of them.
You better know. It's not like you have to follow them, but everybody has roles. And so I don't know who wrote this curriculum, but you kind of just have to play the game if you want to go home.
Right.
And so, like, inmates if they see somebody breaking a rule and they don't report it and hold the person accountable, then they get wrote up. So it's like causes so much conflict and enough write-ups, then that gives you a setback. See, a week gets added to your time. And so it's all about how well you play their game. But by the time I got up there, I was such a full-fledged recovery cheerleader, and I was just ready. I was like feeling more confident. I healed in so many ways, got all this education. So when you asked me earlier about, how I responded to this mentor that eventually sat down in front of me, I was like ready.
You're there.
I was like, please.
Mentally, that's awesome.
Let me build my support network, whatever help I can get, which was the opposite of January 17th, 2013. I was like, I can handle this on my own. So something inside me had just broken and started to heal my heart, and I started to have goals, and I was still giving 110% the whole entire time, and there's moments of even prison, and I think it's crazy, but like I wanted to hate it. I never decorated my area. I never got earplugs at night because if I couldn't sleep, good. Like that's kind of the way I talk to myself.
Yeah.
Like this is not an option. So a lot of girls around me had made it an option for their life. This is going to be a one-time thing. And anyway, I got the mentor. It was a program that honestly, like I couldn't find any resource. I couldn't find anywhere to live when I was getting released. So I was 4 months away from being released, 4 or 5. And the mental health counselor, who I'm very close to even to this day, like, oh my God, it's amazing. So they said, there's this program, and it's called the Forensic Peer Mentoring Program. It's brand new. It's a pilot program. We honestly have no idea what it's about. But if you want to give it a shot, you might be able to get some accurate resources.
Right.
And I was like, let's do it, and it ended up like changing my entire life. And so I met with this woman, once a week, and we started working on, reentry plans and things like that. I got to make a couple free phone calls because I was one of those people that didn't always have money on the phone. Sure. And it was always hard to get money on my books just for food. And so I wasn't one of those people that was just set, by any means. So a free phone call was awesome,
Right.
and having somebody coming and meeting with me that understood was awesome too. And so
amazing how many things we take for granted, right?
Oh my God. And talk about the money thing. Like I sent some money to a friend of mine who's locked up. It costs $6.50 just to send money. So if you want to send her $30, you're really only sending her like $23.50.
Right, you got to send her $36.
Where does all that money go to? You have to pay to send emails.
Right.
Emails. Like, it's an email.
Where's the money go to? Credit card processors. That's who it goes to.
Yeah,
It's a software company that built thing and said, I'll do it for this much money, and I'll give it to you for free, Mr. Prison System. And they said, okay. And they take all the money and maybe split it with the prison system. That's what it is.
It is all about money, man. It's crazy.
So you're in the program, and just for the sake of time, you're in the program and you're working it for yourself, right? How long did that take to get through?
So there's no time limit. That's the beauty of it. You work with your mentor for as long as you feel you need it.
So if I'm there for a week, I go, I'm done. Can you be done?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. So
how long did you do it?
So I thought it ended when I got released from prison, and so I thought it was just a prison thing. But it actually, once I ended up going to a halfway house afterwards for the first year, and that was completely voluntary. And that was
where was the halfway house at?
Like Conyers, Georgia, which I had never been a day in my life.
That's right.
But whatever, I just needed a roof over my head. I need some clothes, and I just needed some transportation.
Rockdale County.
Yeah, so I went out there. It was a faith-based program, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't like any of that. But I got a knock on the door 30 days into it, and I'll open the door, and there's this person standing there, and they're like, "Hey, I'm your forensic peer mentor. Based upon where you're located, I'm the one in this area." And I was like, "Oh my God, awesome!" And that's where the beauty of the program really shows its face, is that it doesn't just stop when you're in there.
Right.
And actually, it's more important when you're out.
Right.
And so I was able to work hand in hand with this mentor who introduced me to a brand new world of certified peer specialists and all these credentials. And so I had 2 credentials before I graduated that halfway house. And after I got the second one, I ended up landing my job at the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network.
Nice.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I learned how
your life started.
Right. So
your life started, and you started, being productive, and everything else is
and that
in it.
word
productive, we've never met before face to face until today, and the way that I reached out to you is because you did probably 5 paragraph of this hour. How long have we been going on, Tristan?
Probably an hour 10.
Hour and 10. And it was in 5 paragraphs, which is impossible to put in 5 paragraphs or whatever it was. And I direct messaged you and was like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I have a podcast and I'd love to hear your story." And then here we are.
Yep.
So
and that was
it's amazing.
It was learning how to tell your story,
Yeah.
and learning more than that. What's your message? What do you want your message to be?
Let me ask you a question. What do you think is, obviously you had to go through this shit, and then you got this opportunity to do this program. What would you say to the girl or the young man that you don't want them to get in that in the first place? How do they stop?
Okay, so
what help?
Like
what help?
prison,
Yeah, what help? What help can they get out there that before? Yes.
Yeah, I mean there is.
I know there's the NA and AA and all that, but
that's also very limited. Those are just some limited options. They're good options if you need like immediate, surround yourself by people that are
struggling,
that understand.
Yep.
It's all about connection. So there's all these different things that we offer today that people don't know about. We spend a lot of time trying to market it. But ways
and you do that before prison too. So you're like, "Hey, we don't want you to go there. We'll offer it."
But I'm going to tell you right now, when I was out there homeless, there may have been a huge billboard right next to my face every night, and I wouldn't have seen it.
I get it.
At all.
No, I get it. Everybody has their time, and then some people might spend 2 years in prison before they figure that out, and you figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you're lucky there too that your mind said this is it. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that never get there.
Right. I think we've created a society of people that just don't. They think that if they're not okay, they have to pretend that they are.
Yeah.
And if we can just be real.
We did a podcast with Roy Jones Jr. and his trainer, one of his trainers, his name's WAP. That's his nickname. His real name is Valerie Cooper, and he got arrested in South Louisiana when he was 19. He's probably 60 now, so 60. So it was a long time ago. And it was not in a friendly, racial friendly town at that part of time. Mm-hmm. He got caught stealing $22 and a watch, and he got sentenced to 15 years. So he ended up spending 35 years. But the guy's attitude, and he probably went more than half his time before that clicked, and some. You watch the podcast.
Right.
This guy's story is insane.
Yeah.
And it took him a long, long time.
I think it was like seeing that. You remember when I said that on that night when I was like, I don't want anybody to ever feel this pain again.
Sure.
It was something like about that, like when you're experiencing it and you're just like, I naturally don't want anybody to ever have to feel this again. How does this stop? It stops with you doing it first. And then just being able to look at the worst of the worst times in your life, worst, darkest moments, and realizing that is actually not just for you. It's you can completely turn it around, and it can be of use to something, one day. And, we keep getting high and we keep doing these things because we feel like we've just wasted all of this time and everything's just for a loss, and we're just getting beat up and lost more and more. But all of that stuff is actually useful. And it took somebody like a forensic peer mentor to say, hey, there's actually programs where because you've been to prison makes you eligible to be one of those.
But you were ready to take that. And if you're not ready to receive that help, that program won't work.
So I guess it would back up then to when I was in county jail, and
Sure.
I was going to meetings, and it wasn't about it being 12 steps. It was about the people that were showing up, and they looked at me and they said, you know what? I'm drawing strength from you. And I'm like, how can that be? I'm drawing strength from you.
Yeah, I try.
You know? And then it's like, oh my God. And one day when you hear it, you're like, oh, I actually believe you. I believe
Right.
that you're drawing strength from me.
That's right.
Like, what just
I
clicked?
can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like this unconditional, like, give and take. And that's what recovery is all about. And so it's just about connection and people, like, being able to not run or judge. Like,
For sure.
Right. I mean, if I was sitting outside of a gas station, like, you know, just recognizing that there's a story behind that, you know, like it's not just because this is what I want to do today.
Of course.
And a lot of people don't have time to sit there and do that kind of
They
outreach.
they don't look and say there's a story there, and maybe I could give a little bit of money. Maybe I can ask for if they need a ride, you know.
I always give food if I ever have it.
I give rides all the time.
I'm not going to do that.
I know you shouldn't, but I do. I called Bailey the other day. He was doing, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm taking this guy. He's homeless. I'm taking him to the Kroger up and thing." He's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So I do it all the time. Look, you're an amazing person. I think that how many people we can get this out to is important, because people need to hear your story, because millions of people in your situation right now, and if they hear it, they might be able to get out before they do all the destruction to their record, to their
just to not feel alone. It's me, but there are so many people like me that are also doing this.
How do I get a hold of you? Via email, or can I if I'm a listener? How do I get a hold of you? Tell me your email. If I'm needing help, how do I do that? Where do I go?
So I'll give you my email. It's my work email. It's my first name, Lindsey, and it's going to be at GMHCN. So it's kind of crazy. So G is in God, H is in house, M is in mom, C is in consumer, and N is in network. .org. Okay, so that's going to be my email. Feel free to reach out to me on social media. I love posting a lot of things that I write about just positive stuff, like things about, you know, just progress and how to move forward and just being inspirational. So it's Lindsey Sizemore, Atlanta, Georgia. I think the tag may be Sizemore ATL. Facebook.com/Sizemore ATL.
That's right.
I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I mean, I went from somebody who just felt like I never had a voice to, I mean, speaking all over the country. I've done.
Sure. But if somebody saw you walking down the street right now, no way they would think that you'd been through that. So, look, I had a blast.
Okay.
We'll have you on again.
Yeah.
And
hey, guys, if there's anybody out there that's been to prison that also wants to get involved with the Certified Peer Specialist program, you can go, you can reach out to me. I'll tell you how to get those credentials behind your name. The forensic peer mentoring training the application is live right now.
this is a paid job.
These are paid jobs.
Yes.
You get benefits. You can support your family, but you get to use all that you went through to actually help somebody else further their own recovery. So,
And people are always, if you've been to prison, you've been in jail, I can't hardly get a job. Well, they know you've been to jail.
Yep.
So this is
Exactly.
awesome. That's great. Thank you for saying that too.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I had a great time. We're going to do it again. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody be kind to each other.